You know, if there are two people at the heart of the current national debate on guns, gun safety, and gun control, there would probably be President Obama and this man. He is the NRA president, Wayne LaPierre. LaPierre, he gave the rebuttal to the Newtown shootings, if you will, when a week after the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary, he held a press conference and offered his solution to gun violence, which was an armed guard in every American school. In fact, he says more guns are the answer, not less. And now, one day after President Obama ended his State of the Union with an impassioned plea that his gun safety measures get at least just a vote. That's all he's asking for, a vote on the floor of Congress where people put their names to yay or nay to the proposals. Mr. LaPierre is at it again. And once again, I believe the tone deafness of LaPierre's comments is nothing less than astounding. Andrew?
Well, Rich, LaPierre took to a conservative website, the Daily Caller, the same site, by the way, that's pushing the Robert Menendez prostitution story with zero evidence, and gave his response to the gun section of the State of the Union. No surprise, LaPierre still thinks more guns are the answer, but his tactics and claims certainly raising eyebrows. Turning to fear tactics and leaning on race, like his claims that Latin American drug gangs have invaded every American city, or that Phoenix is now one of the kidnapping capitals of the world, a claim that's been disproven by several Phoenix news outlets and based on some inflated stats submitted by the Phoenix Police Department. LaPierre also stoking additional fears, suggesting that the border is open to those who would, in his words, murder, rape, rob, and kidnap. LaPierre also turned to New York City after Hurricane Sandy as a pro-gun argument, calling the city a gun prohibition utopia and saying that storm victims who needed supplies risked being murdered if they were on the streets after dark, despite zero evidence of that actually having happened. And echoing another false claim spreading on right-wing websites that Mayor Bloomberg barred the National Guard from helping out after the storm because guardsmen carry guns. Bloomberg actually praised the Guard and thanked them for their offer to assist, but noted that the NYPD had the situation in hand. So why is LaPierre trying to fan flames and play fast and loose with the truth to combat gun control efforts? Perhaps because he may be losing the debate with the American people. For example, a recent Quinnipiac poll showing 92% of Americans supporting background checks on every gun sale, or another poll that shows 74% of NRA members also support those same background checks. Now, despite those numbers, LaPierre says he and the NRA are against such a simple safety step.
And when it comes to background checks, let's be honest. Background checks will never be universal because criminals will never submit to them.
That comment in testimony before Congress recently, even though LaPierre held the exact opposite position as recently as 1999.
We think it's reasonable to provide mandatory instant criminal background checks for every sale at every gun show. No loopholes anywhere for anyone.
The editorial also creating something of a firestorm, even among gun owners. Earlier today, I spoke with Ari Laveau, a hunter and gun owner who recently penned an article called Pro-Gun Anti-NRA. He says the NRA doesn't speak for him or other gun owners like him. Ari, you are both a hunter and a gun owner, and yet you're writing columns saying the NRA doesn't speak for you. In fact, far from it. What's your beef with the NRA?
I don't like being associated with them. Basically, I don't agree with the organization's politics. The organization doesn't speak for me.
Ari, you had written that the NRA fearmongers, or is a fear-mongering organization. As a gun owner, what's your sense of that they're just trying to scare people into buying more guns?
I have guns, and I have no fear that they're going to be taken away. Yet the NRA seems to really use that as one of their main, strategies, is to try and get people afraid. Anyone who asks reasonable questions about gun control, they're calling them enemies of the Second Amendment, and they're calling them prohibitionists, and they're talking about confiscation. And so, yeah, they're trying to fan fears that the government is going to come take away their guns. And
finally, Ari, as a gun owner and as a hunter, would you have any problem submitting to background checks before buying your next weapon?
Not at all. Not at all.
So Richard, do the math for me. If 3/4 of his own membership says, I got no problem with background checks, and 92% of Americans, which can't even agree, on what day of the week it is, 92% say they want it, why is this politically dangerous for Republicans to say, at least do this so we don't seem like we're against the American public?
Two separate issues. Why would Republican elected officials toe that line? That's an evolving matter, and I think you're going to see measurable erosion because of this kind of stuff. What I don't think is happening is I don't think LaPierre is tone deaf at all. I think he's doing this intentionally. I think he's doing it because he has decided that rallying the base is more important than expanding the universe of those committed to the same goals. And what he's doing is constantly pushing this argument to its extremes. He does it with race.
You're right, but here's my problem.
It's not
what
tone
he said
deaf.
right there is, might be fine for him and his base, but if you're a Republican and you need any Latino votes, okay, you just had the head of the NRA basically say, look out for those people that, and not that the black population's voting for him, but if you kept reading, I know you read the editorial, he basically said, Katrina and after Hurricane Sandy, look out because the people of color here can't go out at night around them.
I didn't say he was smart. I said he has a plan. Now, I don't think that plan is going to be as successful as he thinks it is because, to some extent, you've got to come to a point in any of this dynamic where you expand beyond the 12 true believers that are left in the bunker on doomsday. He has done that. Whether he's smart enough to pivot and moderate as the issue comes hotter is really what I think will be interesting.
Jeannie, do you think we're close to seeing Republicans say he doesn't speak for me? Because right now they haven't.
Yeah, I think we will see, a measurable movement on that. I think it's also Democrats. You're going to see Southern Democrats who are in very tight primary and elections who have not yet run away from.
That LaPierre makes it easier for him, doesn't it?
Well, it should, absolutely. And reading the editorial, and anybody who hasn't read it, you read it, and I heard somebody say this earlier today, and if you weren't reading it knowing that he apparently wrote it, it sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit. You read some of the language in there, it is absolutely astounding to read. So, is he representing gun owners? No, but follow the money. He's representing gun manufacturers. That's who he's representing. He isn't thinking about gun owners, in my mind. He's thinking about the gun manufacturers. He's following that money, and it's going to lead Republicans, if they choose to follow him, which I don't think they will, down a dangerous path as people start to move away from this.
The other thing is LaPierre is now so far out there and has taken such an extreme position that even if Republicans break from LaPierre and say, no, he doesn't speak for me, they can still oppose gun control measures. Yeah. Because that's now a more moderate position than what LaPierre has staked out.
And the other thing is that there is money there, Bloomberg and others, on the other side of this issue that wasn't there a year ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So that's a big difference.
Mayo, my thing is you worked with law enforcement. I know some police chiefs have come out for this, but if they had a unified voice, no one's going to accuse them of being bleeding hearts. And I think that's an element or a face of this conversation that we haven't heard enough of. These guys are the same guys who are oppose banning armor-piercing bullets, okay, that can go through bulletproof vests of the police, okay? So I'm waiting still. Do you think we're going to hear more of their voices here in this debate, or have they basically said their piece?
Well, I think that there are a lot of law enforcement officers already who are definitely in favor of the gun control restrictions, and it makes perfect sense. They're outgunned on the streets right now. They had a difficult time again dealing with one man, Mr. Dorner, and he caused half of the country to mobilize to try to find him and deal with him. And that's one person. They didn't know what weapons he may have had. But I think also if you go back and look, if you have a driver's license in New York, you can drive across the country and go to California without getting stopped and arrested because you're not licensed in Idaho. Okay. I would love to see a national gun law where you have restrictions, you have background checks, you have health checks. You have someone who screens your ability to see. If I can't see anymore, I can no longer renew my driver's license. That's to drive a car. Why would I be able to maintain an AK-47 if I have vision issues and I really don't realize that it's my nephew coming in the door instead of an intruder? Or I have hearing problems, or I'm suffering from dementia. As it is right now, to listen to Mr. LaPierre, none of those things should come into play. The other thing is, again, Mr. Dorner was a former police officer, former member of our military, could have easily gotten a gun legally. Most people can easily, if they go through the application process, get a gun. Now that doesn't mean that the person today is going to be in the same condition 5 years from now. They may no longer be a fit candidate to have a gun.
I have to hit a break here, but Mayor, I know you're involved in a couple of big cases, including the Chamberlain case. We'll be checking up on the progress of that. Always good seeing you. Mayor Bartlett, thank you. We take A quick break, everybody. When we come back, we're going to have the latest out of Washington, where the Hagel confirmation fight took another unexpected turn. We'll have more on that.